This video we're going to look at procurement planning. So you recall from the previous video that there's the time planning processes. Out of the estimating the resources comes the resources that we'd like to have for each work package. And what we do now is we need to figure out how we're going to get those resources. So you might be getting them internally, or you may be procuring them externally. So what we're looking at here is the procurement planning side of things. So procurement planning is the processes necessary to purchase or acquire products, services or results needed from outside the project team. So just going back to this video here, these two things here, this is getting it internally, this is getting the resources externally. My view is that these probably should be one package, one knowledge area, because they're just two sides of a coin. You get the resources either from within your organization or from outside the organization. So they're sort of well, twins really. They work together. So you can see that there's different parts of procurement management. The planning part of it is planned procurement management. Executing, when you're actually doing the job, you're actually conducting the procurements. So that'd be doing things like initiating tendering, asking for quotes, setting up supply from suppliers, all that sort of stuff. The control procurements is making sure that what you've actually you're getting at the right time and it's to the right quality. So you're controlling it, making sure it's being done properly, and then at the end you're closing procurements. So if you've got a subcontractor and you've got a subcontract agreement, then you're closing it, you're doing a practical completion certificate, you're signing it off, you're doing the final payments. If you're looking at the big picture, the client, he is procuring services and construction services as well, and at the end of those, when those services have been provided, he needs to close them off as well. Once again, sort of final payments and things like that. But what we're looking at today is just the planned procurement process. So procurement is acquiring the products, services, results from outside of the project team or organization. So with the client, the products he's procuring would be the project deliverables. If he wants a building, the product he is procuring is the building. The services he needs to procure to get that project deliverable would be consultants and constructors. Their services, the services of the consultant to do the design, to do the feasibility study, to do the site investigations, to manage the project, to do the construction observation, to do the contract administration. The constructors providing the equipment, the plant, and the materials they need to actually do the work, carrying it out, and then completing it properly. So those are the services they provide, and the results they might require as part of that would be consents and permits from that whole thing. So for a design project for the consultant, his services he might be procuring as sub-consultants, but really there's not many products that they are actually procuring as part of their work. So remember, we're talking about things that you're buying. They are producing products, they are producing the design, they're producing the design stuff, the tender documents, but for their project, what they need to procure, what the consultant needs to procure, is really just subcontractors. And the construction project, the constructor, he needs to procure materials, and he needs to procure the services of subcontractors. So that's just the general idea of what each one of those different projects actually needs to do in along the lines of procurement. So procurement contracts, remember the client procures the services of a consultant, the services of a contractor, the consultant procures the services of a subconsultant, the contractor procures the services of a subcontract and has supply contracts or agreement to procure the materials they need to do their work. So obviously procurement is a very important part of a project, and it's also related to the profitability of the project. If you can do good procurement and you can manage it well, you're going to come up with the right quality and you're going to be able to do it at a reasonable price. So planning procurement is identifying the sellers, the organization who can provide the products or services. So that's not just people selling materials, it's people selling services like subcontractors, surveyors, geotech investigation and things like that. And determining the procurement methodology, when and how. Are you going to take this out to tender, or are you just going to ask for quotes, or are you going to go to your mate who gives you good rates? And how. So that's the how, and the when is when are you actually going to do it. And remember that some items you need to procure them. You need to put the order in several weeks, several months, even sometimes even a year or so ahead of when you're actually needed on site. So you need to be thinking about ordering the materials in time, or services in time for them to come on to site when you need it. And that includes services as well. For example, cranes. There's only a couple of heavy lift cranes in Auckland, and you need to make sure that you have booked them months in advance, because their book is full. So you need to book them months in advance and have your project planned in such a way that when that crane comes on site, it is your works are ready to do the work that that crane is needed for. So it's quite an important thing. So procurement can actually drive your schedule, the timing of your project. So the resource requirements are the resources you need to acquire. So that's from that time planning thing we were looking at. The schedule, when you need them. Enterprise environmental factors would be the availability of suppliers, the availability of people that can provide the service or the material. How far do you have to go? So for example, in Auckland, if you want aggregate, you have to travel quite a ways outside of Auckland to find a quarry that will supply the aggregate. So how far away is it, and what are the difficulties of getting the material to the site? Same with availability of suppliers. I mentioned before cranes in Auckland. Once again, there's a shortage of those heavy lift cranes, so you sort of got to work around that. You've got to consider that in your planning. So the organisational process assets, procurement procedures and templates. Your company will have done this before. They'll have systems, they'll have people that authorise you to go out and actually ask for quotes or to do the tendering. They'll have processes for the approval of those things when they come in. Previous project experience, and that can be sort of what resources we actually do need to procure, which resources can be done better by procurement than internal organisation, which resources are available to us, which suppliers give you a good deal and which ones don't. And so that's the second, that one there, seller's previous performance. So you know who these people are, you know who does a good job, who delivers stuff on time, who delivers quality goods to the right specifications, and who doesn't. And seller relationships. So especially in the construction industry, you establish relationships with suppliers. They know that if they give you a good deal, if they give you good service, then you're going to come back for more, and it's important to them that they do that. And same with in consulting, you'll find a lot of the medium to small size consultancies will actually have relationships with each other, so they act as sub-consultants to each other on each other's projects. So what comes out of that is the procurement plan, which is what needs to be procured, how you're going to procure it, and when you're going to procure it. And to arrive at that, you need to do a make or buy analysis, which is sort of a bit wrong for construction, but make or buy is, do we make it internally or do we buy it externally? So that's that decision. Are we going to use internal resources, in which case this is part of the resource management knowledge area that we looked at in the previous video, or do we procure it? Expert judgment, what works best for us, what's going to work best in this instance, and market research, what's available to us. So the make or buy analysis, deciding whether to make the product or provide the service or buy it ourselves. In engineering, use our own resources, buy new resources, or procure external resources. And I think I've got another one there. So it's determined by the resource availability. Is that resource available within your organisation? Time constraints, do you have a shortage of time? So it might be that you have the resources available within your organisation to do the work, but not within the time available to you. So you might need to get more resources. Or it might be that you can do it, but that the plant or the resources required to do it aren't available at the time you need it. So you have to go out and procure it from an external source. Cost and efficiency. Some organisations are better set up to do work than others. So it might be that your company is laying a road, you don't really have a good road laying crew, so you're going to subcontract it out to someone. You've got people that could probably do it, but not as well or as quick or as at low cost as the other company. And you still get maybe 10-15% profit on top of the work they do, but it might be that even with the fact that you're getting someone else to do it, it might work out less expensive than using your own resources. Your experience, the experience of others, intellectual property. Some people own specific things. So, for example, you might be talking about consultancy. Someone might have a really good design for a ventilation system or something like that. So instead of reinventing the wheel, you say, "Oh well, you guys come and design it for our project and put it in," and it's cheaper than us developing it ourselves. Sensitivity. So it might be that you want to keep a lot of the work in-house to keep it confidential. So you're willing to do things less efficiently because you want to keep it confidential, or you want to sort of keep the work to yourself. And the volume, how much work you have to sort of do. So what comes out of all this process is your procurement plan, and this table here is probably all you'd need for a normal sort of project. Is what is the work package, what needs to be procured. So in this case here we've got curb and channel. We need to procure a curbing machine. We don't actually have one. We need to procure some concrete. We don't make our own concrete. So the method, we're going to hire a machine. We're going to actions. We need to book the machine, and we need to book the machine no later than 1 week before the curb laying. In other words, we need to book it in, and the project manager needs to do this. So you can see that there is a to-do list for the project manager. He says, a week before we're doing the curb laying, I need to book the machine. Now, it's important that he does that, because if on the day of the curb laying you haven't booked the machine, you ring them up and you say, well, can you come today? They're just going to say, well, I'm sorry, we're busy, we're doing something else. So you need to allow for booking things in. Likewise with the concrete, we're going to go to quotes. We're going to go talk to the 3 different concrete manufacturers, obtain quotes. So we need to obtain quotes earlier, a week or 2 weeks before, decide who we're going to use, and then on the day, and then we book them in, and then on the day that the delivery is going to happen, we're actually making sure that they're coming. So we say yes, confirming that we need that concrete delivered, and that's done by the supervisor. So once again, what you end up with from the procurement plan is just a to-do list, if you like. So procurement methods, you can buy it, you can hire it, you can get quotes, or you can go to contract. So tender selection, tender assessment. Um, so all these things here, this tendering type of process that we looked at in engineering management, that's where that all comes in. You've got to make decisions like, are we going to go open tender, or selective, or negotiated? Are we going to negotiate with someone, or just a few people, or are we going to put an ad in the paper? Are we going to have a lump sum project? Are we going to assess it as lowest conforming, weighted attributes? How are we going to assess how they're going to do it? Remember, weighted attributes is going to take longer, it's going to be more expensive. Contract type, is it a lump sum, is it a measure and value, cost reimbursement? So you need to make all those decisions about the procurement and how you're going to do it. So right at the start, you've got a plan, you know what you're going to procure, what you have to do to procure those things, and that might include ordering them or arranging stuff weeks before it's actually required on site, and then when it's actually happening is managing those external parties to deliver what you require.